I'm here with Coach Rodgers. Coach, thank you so much for your time. For the listeners at home, will you tell us a little bit about, your background, your motivation, and where you are currently?
Thanks, Juan. Currently, I'm at Limestone College as an
Mm-hmm.
assistant strength and conditioning coach. Took a lot to get here. Started off in my undergrad at the Citadel with Coach D. Coach
Mm-hmm.
D, me and Coach D go back way back.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with him for about 3.5 years as a volunteer and student volunteer while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I went to Merrimack College up in Massachusetts, where I was a graduate fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple teams under my belt while I was there, and that was just a one-year program.
Yeah.
I finished at the Citadel in 2017 and finished at Merrimack in 2018
Mm-hmm.
and was hired here at Limestone in August of 2018, and here I am now.
Yeah. So why do you do what you do? Like, why did you get at SSC? Like, what's your motivation for, showing up every day and making athletes better?
Great question, Juan. Yeah, my motivation is really just I love working in college athletics and really seeing the transition physically and mentally with the athletes through the weight room and that transfer onto the field. Um, I love being that mentor and that leader to the athletes that I'm blessed to work under and seeing the results at the end.
Okay. So, you're coming from a place very, very rich in S&C. You have, some great mentors in Coach D, Mike Morgan, Coach Kamal, and, everyone else that is, kind of come from those places. So how is coming from a place so rich in S&C, right? So rich in culture, how has that influenced you now?
It's influenced me a lot, Juan. I've learned a ton from every place. I've taken notes at every place, and I really try to let that bleed out here at my current position or wherever I'm going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm training somebody one-on-one or I'm in the team setting,
Mm-hmm.
I just try to take what I've learned from every place and harness it into one solid package and give it to the athletes that I work under.
Okay. So, let's talk about a little bit about creating success. So what does this mean to you?
Great question. Success to me, you can't really harness it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be there, and it's always going to be something you're chasing towards. So success for me is really just working up in the field, not position-wise,
Mm-hmm.
but really creating a legacy within the field, being a voice and a resource, being somebody that people look up to and asks upon, but also, me myself, I'm not the resource yet, so I'm the one right now chasing that.
Okay. So when do you know if you've achieved it? Or is there a point where you're like, I've done it, I've arrived?
I don't think you ever really know when you've achieved success. I think success is dynamic in the fact that you should always be trying to push further and further as you keep getting closer and closer, or as you keep reaching those small goals in your life.
Yeah, okay. So let's dive a little bit into, some training, some assessment, some of the bread and butter of the stuff you do. So do you guys have technology, and are you able to use that and implement that in like a daily or even testing settings?
Yes, we do. We have some bar senseis to work on velocity-based training, some just jump mats, so we can really work through some power tests and daily assessments. And we try to integrate those as much as possible. And our biggest thing with integrating it with all of our athletes is really just the size of our athletic population. So what we're really trying to do is give the athletes the most of the technologies that we have to maximize their training with the time that we have with them.
Okay. And so Bar Sensei, right? So there's a bunch of different things out there. What was your reasoning in selecting Bar Sensei versus, say, like, the more expensive Gymaware or like the tried and true Tendo or something like that?
I really think I wasn't here when they purchased it. They were here
Okay.
when I got here. But,
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, but it was probably cost effectiveness. I mean, we have 14 and 14 iPads to go with it. So we can actually have them all really going all at once. It's really just, I think at the time with our athletic administration, we had it going more of cost effectiveness as, we're checking the box with technology and just mass impact for what we have, for who we have to serve.
Okay. So who or what is your biggest influence in programming, and what does your program kind of look like from, I guess from a 40,000 foot view all the way on down to like, floor one?
My biggest influences in my programming is really flow, impact, and competence within the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really trying to make sure that the flow of the training's there. They're getting it. They're becoming competent in the lifts and the movements,
Mm-hmm.
and that everything's clicking with them,
Mm-hmm.
as well as impact of the exercises and impact of the training, and hopefully that transfers to performance.
Mm-hmm.
At a more like microscopic level,
Mm-hmm.
like looking at wrestling, I want those guys to be explosive and their repeat explosive ability be there. So I'm usually training them with clusters, and I can train clusters with strength, and I can train clusters with speed. So that can vary the intensity as well as the volumes with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With acro and tumbling in your program, super, super strong, but super, super, super young in training age, I've got to nurse those young ladies up in weight,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're naturally strong enough. So it's really just feeding it to them to where they understand it. So later on in the season or later on in the semester, when I say, hey, let's hit some hang clean and jerks, they're like, I bet, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, what sport was that with?
Acro and tumbling.
Oh, wow, okay. So that's I guess,
Acrobatics and tumbling.
yeah, I wouldn't think that, that's not some schools have that, but I feel like it's, few and far between. So what kind of other nuances would you see in acro and tumbling? Is there anything specific to that sport, or does that look, general training, or, how would you kind of approach that one?
Acro and tumbling, I'm not even going to lie, and I'm going to brag on them right now, man. They're, I think, pound for pound, one of the strongest athletes in NCAA. They just got voted through as an emerging sport.
Mm-hmm.
So big things on the docket for them in the next coming years. But just a second-year program here, currently doing pretty well. We had Baylor come all the way down to Limestone College and compete with us down here. So it's not like we don't really attract just like the average college. It's a pretty big sport, and it's blowing up.
Yeah.
But as it comes to training, they've already been through some pretty hardcore stuff when it comes to gymnastics and even some cheer programs, and that's usually who they're recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
So they're naturally fairly strong. What I mostly do when I first got them was made sure their movements were there.
Mm-hmm.
They could express power in the directions I need them to, and that our mobility and core were solid. Once we had that set, then I could really throw the load on, and we had a good bit of fun with that group.
Okay, and so, let's pan back out a little bit into more of like, before we even start training, what does the assessment kind of look like, and what is your testing battery? What are some key performance indicators and things that you are hoping to see from some of these teams?
When they first come in, I'm really in a regress state when I'm in my exercise selection timing. So this semester I was playing around. I did a lot of 1x20 stuff really, really early in maybe the first 2 to 3 weeks, really to progress and add volume to what I'm doing with these athletes. Initially, when it comes to movement, when it came to like power testing, we have the traditional vertical jump and standing long jump.
Yeah.
And I didn't. My younger teams, because I have a couple very, very young teams that are in their first, second year here at Limestone. I didn't do any max strength or rep max work with them quite yet. We didn't really do that until the end of this past first semester.
Okay, and is that strictly just a technique thing?
Strictly just a technique, or I'll make it a rep max, a light rep max, just to see sort of where we're at, ballpark. I don't really need some of these ladies or even some young men that I work with that are on the younger end pushing extreme amounts of weight this early in the game or this early in their athletic career. Hopefully they've got 4 or 5 years with me to where I can develop and grow that athletic base and strength base on them.
Yeah, okay. And then how do you kind of monitor some of these parameters, throughout the year or throughout the season?
Most definitely. We've really worked on these past 2 years refining our data collection capabilities here at Limestone. So like I said, we've got an iPad at every rack. So we got about 14 iPads floating around, magnet stick to the racks. And with that, we've been utilizing a lot of Google Docs because one, we can have it all linked up into every single one. So I can update something data collection wise and it'll be hit on all 14 workstations. So we've been working to collect session RPEs at training and a couple right now with session RPEs with practices, but mostly we're getting session RPEs with just weight training.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some daily jump numbers coming in. Every day we're using the just jump mats, in which will normalize their measure,
Yeah.
and we can dictate training like from how high they're jumping,
Mm-hmm.
as well as there's some groups that come in and we'll monitor their weight just to make sure that they're, we're on top of it nutritionally,
Yeah.
and we're not losing too much in season.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so with some of those jump metrics, right, how do you kind of tailor that? So say an athlete, are you getting their max jump and you're going off a percentage of their max jump to see, what they can do that day? Or are you going off of RSA mod, or what are your like specific protocols, I guess, for, they come in, they jump, and then you're deciding, all right, like we're going to go full or we're going to go, a percentage of what we had planned?
We'll base it strictly off of the R value, which comes in. So it's the change in variance from day to day.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a moving average that works along with it as they come in every day.
Mm-hmm.
They'll hit their jump, usually within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the training session, and they'll record the number, and it'll automatically flash green, yellow, red, or blue. Green meaning go, you're good to go. On the percentages that I have listed, you have a little bit of wiggle room of freedom to go up.
Yeah.
You're feeling that for the day. Yellow being cautious, so I'm really saying, hey, let's stick straight to the numbers. If we've got to bump down, 3 to 5, 7%, let's be smart with it. Let's train smart. Red is really that area where, hey, that athlete's coming in really fatigued, neurally fatigued, and that could just be because they're studying for a test all last night. We got a 7 a.m. lift. They went to bed at 3:30. They didn't grab a snack in before. So, I don't want to add to that stress on the athlete by putting more external stress on the body or more external load on the body.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's more or less like, I'm going to get you on, hey, just give me 20 minutes on the bike. Give me a little bit of mobility and some core. I'm not here to wear you out. Let's get a little bit of work, see if we can get the most out of you, but let's make sure that we're recovering hardcore afterwards.
Okay.
And blue is really just a neutral. They're coming in on a normal.
Yeah. Okay. Is it hard for you guys in terms of like the buy-in to get each athlete to kind of cooperate with those categories? Like, for example, if they're in the red, the athlete's automatically like, oh yeah, I don't feel great, so I'm just gonna, kind of be off and do this bike workout? Or is there any kind of pushback?
I think it really comes down to, the culture of the group and just the intuition of the athlete. If the athlete is really an athlete that comes in and is a all gas, no brakes, go, you've got to be a good coach and reel that athlete back and be like, hey, like, for your safety, honest, we're not here to train and work out. We're here to, wrestle hard. We're here to make sure we're hitting all of our tumbling passes.
Yeah.
We're here to make sure, we're playing basketball the right way, because I got women's basketball. So we're here to hoop. We're not here to, train nonstop.
Yeah.
I'm making sure that they're fresh, prepared, and safe for their sport, not just all about the training.
Yeah. Okay. So say, we're in the same stage, athletes in the red, you do your part, you kind of dial things back, but then at the same time, they're in season, so they're going to practice, they're going to games, and then maybe some kind of, injury or a strain or something kind of occurs. How do you handle that in terms of modification for that athlete and then keeping them involved in that team environment?
Absolutely. What I'm mostly trying to do, and I equate for some of this stuff before it all really happens. So I'm always really making the upper body only, lower body only lifts that coincide with the main lifts that I'm doing. I never want a hurt athlete or a down athlete to feel like they're different. I don't want them to think that they're a burden to the group just because they're coming in suboptimal for the day. I don't want them to think that. It's more or less like, so I want them as integrated as possible. If they've got one arm and we're benching, I bet let's do, single arm bench with us. I'm cool with that. So they're trying, they're getting in with the group. They're still lifting with their friends, and they're still, getting a little bit better where they can. I'm trying to get the most out of them in the time that I have with them.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's awesome, and that's a great approach, right? That's all we can do is one, continue to help the organism adapt, and then two, help them mentally, stay involved, because that mental piece is we know that there's a mind-body connection, and so if we have that, then they're still going to get some kind of a stimulus, which is going to help the nervous system adapt long term. So I really do like that. Okay, and then kind of moving forward, like what do you hope to bring this department to? Like what kind of level do you want? Like what do you want from your time at Limestone to be like? We talked about legacy a little bit earlier, right? But going kind of a little bit deeper than just the temporal, the time training now. What do you want it to get to?
I really want it to get, next level type stuff.
Yeah.
I really want us, because I think as a staff, we're on the same page of we want to give these athletes the best training possible.
Mm-hmm.
As an athlete population, they want the best training possible, and we're motivating them through performance. And so really working not only for myself to be a resource, because I don't want it to be selfish. I promote my work through the Instagram that we run here through our strength staff, to not be selfish, but really to promote what we're doing here at Limestone as the resource in training. So really in the next couple of years, working to elevate the things we're doing to a higher impact, higher transfer, and just have a better grasp on things. And that's where I think this data collection is really going to come in handy, as well as, us as a staff continuing to research and just get deeper into the books and deeper into the papers of, giving these athletes, like I said, the best possible package when it comes to training.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. And then let's talk about the power of social media, right? I think as young coaches, I think this is one of the things that we have an advantage on versus, some of the people that have been in the game a little bit longer is we have that access and a little bit more connection to the world in that way, right? But what is your take on that? Like, what's the power of social media? How can we positively use this? And how can, we avoid some negative parts of social media?
Absolutely. On my social media, personally, I put a little bit of strength and conditioning stuff on, but like I said, I don't want it to be selfish. I don't want to use Limestone's athletes really for my benefit.
Yeah.
I'm going to use, Limestone's athletes under a Limestone name, so I'm using it under, Limestone _Saint_strength, Limestone Saint Strength. It's the whole thing, and I think it's a major, major tool. I mean, it's a major, major motivator. Just watch how much faster athletes lift, or how much more pop they'll have if you're saying, "Hey, do it for the gram."
Yeah.
You'll see, you'll see them really show out then, or "Hey, coach, put me on the story. Watch this."
Yeah.
And like that's all cool and stuff, but we've really got to coach on top of that, which I try to do. And on the Instagram too, I've got some saved stories on there, really explaining what I'm trying to do behind the Instagram, and it's not really just to promote big lifts, but I really, like I said, it's really working towards us as a staff becoming more of a resource within the field of strength and conditioning, as well as gassing up the student athletes, as well as like letting people, whether it's Gen Pop or the athletes, come back and ask us questions. I want those people to come and ask us questions about why we're doing stuff, so we can explain the why, because we've looked into it. Negatively, it's really just we've got to police it enough and make sure that we're not putting out trash. We're not putting out, I'm not going to say trash, but we're not putting out subpar quality effort or subpar quality exercises and work. I really try to thoroughly explain the why behind why we're putting the stuff up.
Okay, I like that. And then I think that ties very closely to being industrious and kind of a entrepreneur mindset within strength and conditioning. I think you're a great example of this, right? So will you talk on that piece of developing yourself as a professional outside of the weight room?
Most definitely. I mean, and I've really looked hard and I've thought hard. I write all the time on these things of not really thinking too hard on my next step, but always trying to be prepared for the next step, which leads me into one of my most current ventures. I started an MBA this past January, not so I can start my own business, but really more of a long-term continuity move when it comes to my next move in the job field, whether that be in strength and conditioning or into administration or into the private sector. So it's just really opening up many more avenues professionally when I get done here at my time at Limestone.
Yeah. And then what would you say to other coaches that are on the fence about maybe taking some of this step? Maybe they think they don't have enough time, or maybe they have like family responsibilities. Like, what is your advice to them?
I would say reach out. I'd say reach
Yeah.
out, ask.
Yeah.
I mean, there's coaches out there that have their MBAs, there's coaches
Yeah.
out there that have their masters, even some coaches that have their doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out and seek understanding through those coaches, so you have a better understanding.
Yeah.
You'll never know unless you ask, and that's one thing I think as a young coach I did a very, very bad job at, is I didn't ask
Mm-hmm.
enough questions when I was in when I was in those intern or the
Mm-hmm.
volunteer positions. So I think ask those questions, learn as much as you can before you invest into something,
Yeah.
and always try to be thinking not too far in the future, but definitely
Yeah.
thinking productively into the future.
I like that. Okay. And then was there a specific kind of draw to the MBA versus like, maybe continuing on exercise science, maybe, getting a doctorate in that or a different related field? Or?
I just think with the MBA, like I said, it opens up a couple more avenues than really just doctorate
Yeah.
in exercise science.
Yeah.
Um, Not like I don't like exercise science. I'm
Yeah.
still a big, big nerd.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, it'll allow me to go, if I ever want to step off from coaching, I can go work for an equipment company if I really wanted to,
Yeah.
that sells exercise equipment,
Mm-hmm.
or I can, it's given me more options when it
Yeah.
comes to time to make a decision of where I really, truly want to be.
Yeah. And I mean, we know the field is changing so rapidly that we have no idea where we're going to be in 5 years. Like if you look at it 5 years in the past and where it is now, we never would have thought that we'd be doing some of the things we do now. So I think that's really, really important to, plan for the future at the same time, but be where your feet are. And so I think that's an awesome, awesome way to, kind of continue moving the change forward, right? But actually like adding something to yourself, because everyone can read books and stuff, and that's great. But, you have to be able to put that, to work and also, be able to stack the resume a little bit per se. So I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that. Okay. And so in terms of like, the younger generation of coaches, right? Interns, things like that. How does your guys' internship program look? And then how do you hope to, continue to grow that?
Our internship program is slowly developing. I say that because we're really trying to grow it. Really trying to grow it. Our staff has a ton of experience on it. Coach Lamb's been here for quite some time, and we just have a new guy, Tyler Spence, that came on that's been at some really, really good spots. And he brings a whole lot and a whole different perspective from some really, really good coaches.
Yeah.
From around the nation, honestly. And we're really trying to make one, like I said earlier, just the best package possible. So if you're a young coach coming in, you're working with a very, very established staff, as well as working with a very, very high-level athletic population. I think that's a great, great sell. And we're really trying to grow it. We're going to have 1 or 2 this summer, but we'd really love to have it year-round where we have interns coming in and coming out. Because like you said, like we were mentioning earlier, the developmental aspect of these things, in which I learned a whole lot back at the Citadel, is major. I'm not here to make you a carbon copy of Coach Rodgers or Isaac Rodgers. I'm here to make you your own coach, and I'm just going to expose you to things I like, but I want you to delve in as deep as you want to go in the direction you want to go, and I'll just lightly steer if we need to.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, kind of a hands-off approach of like, kind of exploration, right? That's how we teach kids to learn, right? Is experiential learning, and so I think it's the same as coaches, right? We have to be able to make mistakes and be able to try some things. So that's awesome. Okay.
Absolutely. And shoot, I might learn something from it as well.
Yeah. You never know what people are bringing. Okay. And so moving kind of towards the end of some of this, right? I know you're really busy with the MBA and with, your day-to-day, but are there any like research topics that interest you or things that have come out that you kind of make you scratch your head a little bit?
Absolutely. Currently, as a staff, we're really looking into some better return to play protocols. Looking into how we can better integrate athletes more into the field work stuff, more into the weight room. So, like, backstory, Limestone was absolutely nuked by the flu. And so we had athletes out for a whole week, putting them a whole week back on training. So it's not like we can throw them back in full go. We had to make audible changes real quick. So, better preparing for that as a staff, just so when we see it, whether it's a sickness, whether it's, like a knee or something like that. And that's also us working hand in hand more more with AT. So we're being a better group support staff towards that goal of just getting that athlete back onto the field.
Okay. Moving into the very last part here. So if you have any, what are some quotes that you live by?
One big quote I really, really live by is, so what, now what?
Okay.
So, and it can, I'm not taking it as like a negative thing. It's more like, all right, what's next?
Yeah.
So, stuff doesn't go your way, training session doesn't go right, weather's not there. So what, now what? Hey, let's go to work. And that can go, and that's in the personal life as well. Hey, so what, now what, man? The pizza didn't come out the oven right. So what, now what? You gotta be ready.
Okay.
You gotta be ready to go with it.
Yeah.
And it's really just keeping you on that growth mindset as well.
Yeah.
With that, and it's just a reminder. It keeps you going.
Okay. What is the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice I've ever been given. I think as a young coach, the best advice I've ever been given is really, continue to be humble, be grateful for what you have, and continue to learn and relax.
Yeah.
You're young. I think a lot of us, we just get so wrapped up and so just like antsy when it comes to going to the next step. We don't sit back. But what guys have to understand, or what young coaches got to understand, is y'all are 22, 23, 24, even 25, 26. You're not that old.
Yeah.
You got time. Like, be happy where you're at. Make the most of where you're at. Stay grounded. And it's all going to work out. It really will.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Worst advice? I don't think I've gotten any worst advice.
Okay.
I've learned from everything that's been thrown at me, honestly. So I'm going to take all of that as a W.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever's been thrown at my way, I'm going to take it. I've learned from it. I've adapted. I've overcome. So I'm going to take that as a dub.
Okay. Last question here. So what are some projects you're currently working on, and how can people kind of reach out to you and follow your journey?
I think we sort of touched on it in the middle of the podcast, but really, optimizing our package here at Limestone for what we're giving to the athletes, building our brand on Instagram and building our brand on Twitter. Really just trying to promote what we're doing here is the right stuff, not the right stuff, but what we're doing here works for what we're doing. I mean, for the population that's here. Really just me personally, it's just the NBA and just continuing to learn and stay in the field and just, being hungry in that aspect of life personally. And that's really it.
Yeah.
So it's really just, I'm trying to keep it with the staff, and then, yeah.
Okay. And then how can people kind of reach out to you?
Feel free to email me, Rodgers@limestone.edu. If you want to go email, I respond to DMs. So, and that's really just coach_SAC, SAAC. Or if I'd love it if you just followed our training page at limestone_saint_strength. Limestone Saint Strength and Coach Zach are the Instagrams that we mostly use and update our training stuff on. And you can track all of our athletes there.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic, and looking forward to connecting again soon in the future.
Absolutely, Coach. Thanks for having me.